Hola! Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. Welcome to MarketStream.live. My name is Joseph Cusick with the Cusick Group, securities offered by MoneyBlock. This is where we're going to go over everything that happened in the overnight session, and it was relatively quiet until we hit a 15-minute little air pocket. The air pocket came in during the overnight session in Asia, where we saw crude oil. As a matter of fact, bringing it up right now, CL is, last night you'll see that it actually, in the overnight session, and I'm going to bring this up real quick, dropped precipitously. As a matter of fact, if you would have seen it, it would have dropped. It dropped from 45 and some change to all the way down to 43.80. Basically chalked it up to hit a bunch of stops, and it was very light in liquidity. One of the reasons why the liquidity was light, the Japanese markets were offline. I had forgotten about Children's Day. Both in South Korea and Japan, they celebrate what's called Children's Day. And so the exchange was closed. Now, the Japanese markets, the Nikkei, did finish the week up 1.3%, but it has been closed the last two sessions. So it really hasn't been able to react to what has been a very tumultuous market in the crude contract. Crude oil has basically come from 49, now testing 43.80. Hey, I talked about this. A break of 49, 47 fast. A break of 47, 44. We went to 43.80 overnight, obviously in 15 minutes. A little bit of a blip on the radar because of lack of liquidity, but the Japanese market's not online. Could explain also that the liquidity was not there to basically absorb that pullback. Also, taking a look at China. Well, before I go to China, I want to also talk about the Japanese yen. The yen is firming up off of its lowest levels for the week, but this precipitous drop in the yen has been a catalyst for Japanese stocks. Let's see if that actually continues, because we're starting to see a little bit of dollar weakness. We saw that in the last two sessions here in the U.S. markets. The pair is actually trading at 112.34, U.S. dollar over the Japanese yen. That's some of the best levels that we've seen in a couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, you can just tell from the chart, the U.S. dollar weakness over the last two sessions is starting to be recognized, and that means that the yen is strengthening. That could put some pressure early next week on the Japanese markets, especially if we get some sort of outcome out of France that could put the European Union in jeopardy. Taking a look at the Shanghai Composite, China finished the week down 1.6%. There has been a lot of uncertainty about what the Chinese government's going to do as far as maybe tightening up not only lending standards, but also tightening up the regulatory controls in their equity, in their stock markets. What's also interesting is that they've had mixed data out. As we had talked about yesterday, the PMI data overnight came out. It was worse than expected. They were expecting around a 52.2, and that was what the previous month was. It came in at 51.1. So you actually have that getting close to a challenge of that 50 level on PMI. That shows a little bit of expectation of contraction of growth, and in China, that could be problematic. We're going to keep an eye on that going into next week, especially since we are getting into that spring season where the numbers, if they start to shift, or if you have geopolitical events that start to occur, and don't forget, we still have the North Korean peninsula, still a hotbed, and with the elections in France, there is plenty going on here. Shanghai Composite did finish the week in the red and down for the day yesterday. You also saw that the Hong Kong, the Hang Seng, finished the overnight session down 0.8%, and it finished the week down 0.6%. What's notable here is that it's actually challenging its 20-day moving average. That means that the short-term bulls in Hong Kong are basically trimming some profits. They're on their heels right now. Some of the more notable areas that have been under pressure all week, casinos, specifically Galaxy Sands. Last night you saw it trading down as low as 4%, actually finished the session down 4%. Casino names have been under pressure. in Hong Kong and in China in general. Let's see if that actually starts to flow here in the United States, if that actual action is starting to give a little precursor to names like Wynn, who has exposure in Macau. You're also going to want to keep on an eye on the property names that always, and energy. Energy has been under pressure for the whole week. That has been drawing down some large cap energy names in Hong Kong as well as mainland China. Let's see if that continues. What seems to be immune to this move in crude was India until last night. It actually finished down right now. It finished down almost 0.9%, 0.89%, down 267. And you clearly see that some large cap names, Tata Motors, Tata Steel, as well as Axis Bank, all were on the downside last night in India. These are large cap names that looks to be some profit taking. We're now getting close to challenging those short-term bulls. And if it goes below that 20-day moving average, that green line, you're going to start to see that the intermediate term bulls are going to be put under pressure. That's going to be that battleground. Then anybody that has exposure to India, they could be right now looking at their holdings and maybe contemplating whether or not they need to trim some risks there. All right, folks, that's it right now for the overnight action report where we took a look at Asia. I want to thank everybody this week, the first week, trading week in May, for joining us. And on Sunday night, we're going to be back online. We're going to be talking about some setups for the remainder of next week, especially since we should have a good idea of who the future president is going to be in France. Boy, I'll tell you, if it goes to the far right candidate, Le Pen, we could see some definite fireworks in the markets going into early next week. So join us then. Take care.